Discover the incredible 5-minute transformation that left a nanny baffled for months. Sarah never imagined her life would be defined by the gentle hum of preschool chatter and the scraped knees of 3 rambunctious children. Each day blurred into the next, a routine drenched in affection yet laced with a gnawing sense of inadequacy. She felt like a ghost, visible enough to care for the children of the affluent Thompson family, yet invisible when it came to her own dreams. She tucked those desires away, locking them beneath a facade of smiles and patient storytelling. The life she longed for, a teaching career, seemed like an extravagant daydream, perpetually just out of reach. In the quiet moments between helping with homework and orchestrating playdates, a creeping doubt clutched at her heart. Was this all there was for her? Each time she washed the dishes or coaxed the kids through their evening routines, she sensed the weight of misplaced ambition. Glimpses of Emma's school projects, stories that inspired a desire for learning, lit an insatiable fire within Sarah. Yet, their opulent lifestyle was a constant reminder of her own financial struggles. It felt like a cruel joke, one she played on herself without realizing. One afternoon, while packing away dusty toys in an old attic corner, Sarah's fingers brushed against something solid. She pulled out an antique diary, its leather cover cracked yet intriguing. With trembling hands, she opened it to reveal her grandmother's elegant script, a testament to resilience amidst adversity. Page after page unfolded stories of her grandmother's struggles against societal constraints, revealing strength against all odds. Those yellowed pages ignited something deep within Sarah, battling against the weariness that had crept into her bones. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. That night, Sarah stayed up late, flipping through study guides, her heart racing as she imagined being in a classroom, nourished by the very dreams she once dismissed. Just a few days later, during a moment of shared warmth, she confided in Emma about her aspirations. Emma's light brown eyes widened, filled with admiration. "You could be the best teacher, Sarah. I believe in you." The word struck Sarah hard, echoing inside her like a battle cry. But the relief was short-lived. The Thompsons' dismissive glances weren't far behind. The offhand comments about everyday jobs stung deeper than they knew. Each familiar laugh at her expense felt like nails on a chalkboard, a stark contrast to the validation the children offered. As her own boundaries expanded, the family's expectations loomed larger, tightening around her like a vice. Standing at this crossroads siphoned energy from her spirit. The weight of loyalty threatened to drown her dreams, morphing into a gnawing silence that screamed for attention. Just as she felt ready to step into her power, an unexpected ally emerged. Their grandfather, a retired professor brimming with recognizing potential, took an interest in her aspirations. "You have the spark, Sarah. Don't let them dim it," he said, his words a lifeline tossed her way. The family's dismissive attitude clashed with her growing sense of self-worth. The tension thickened, pushing her to confront not only their antiquated views but her own upbringing. As dinner approached a night she envisioned asserting herself, an anxious knot settled in her stomach. The doorbell echoed, announcing an unexpected guest who could shift the tide entirely. Would this moment be her liberation, or would the Thompsons' world continue to consume her? The door swung open, revealing a familiar figure that made Sarah's heart race not with excitement, but with dread. Jordan, her high school friend, stepped inside, sporting a radiant smile that seemed out of place amongst the tension. They had shared dreams of becoming educators, treasures of their past now overshadowed by Sarah's stagnant life choices. "Hey, Sarah," he greeted, his voice buoyant. "I heard you were working here now. How's it going?" The question felt heavy, laden with implications. While Jordan was navigating his own path toward a teaching career, Sarah couldn't shake the sense of entrapment pervading her daily routine. Her fingers fidgeted with the hem of her shirt, and she forced a smile that felt more like a mask. "It's going well," she forced out, but the words lacked conviction and clarity. She knew better than to let him see the turmoil stirring beneath the surface. As they settled into the living room, Sarah's resolve wavered. Conversations danced around her own aspirations, yet she felt tethered by the expectations imposed by the Thompsons. Her mind raced ahead, pondering the stark contrast between her life and the vibrant trajectory Jordan was on. With every joke shared and every laugh exchanged, Sarah found every aspect of their reconnection tinged with envy. "By the way, I'm applying for a teaching position at the local community college." "I'm super excited," he said. The brightness in his voice struck her like a shard of glass. How could she even dream of divulging her ambitions to a man so firmly entrenched in the world she desperately wanted to inhabit? "Wow, that's amazing. You should totally go for it." Sarah's voice quivered as she spoke, a faint echo of encouragement masking her internal chaos. As the conversation continued, Jordan glanced around the opulent setting. "You know, it seems like you've really settled into this role here." Those words resonated painfully, highlighting not her comfort, but her entrapment in a gilded cage. Suddenly, the children burst into the room, drawing attention away from the silent turmoil brewing beneath Sarah's facade. Emma bounced in, her laughter infectious, immediately lighting up the mundane atmosphere. The juxtaposition was sharp, the innocence of the kids clamoring for attention stark against the echo of Sarah's unfulfilled dreams. She loved these children fiercely, yet each smile they sparked in her heart was stained by the looming reality that was as vivid as the walls that enclosed them. As the evening waned, Sarah felt a seed of determination germinating within her. Would she continue to allow her talents to dwindle in complacency, or would she dare to pursue the teaching career she yearned for? With the children tucked away for the night, she faced an inner battle. The glowing enthusiasm in Jordan's eyes became both a catalyst and a mirror to her indecision. Before parting ways, Jordan casually mentioned a local seminar focusing on educational methodologies, encouraging everyone in the field to attend. "You should check it out. It could help you decide what you want to do next," he said, and for the first time, the idea of attending something meant for her own growth didn't feel selfish. His parting words reverberated in her mind. What if he was right? What if this was the push she needed to reclaim her direction? As she glanced at the old diary tucked beside her on the table, the stories of her grandmother's resilience echoed louder than the dismissive laughter she dreaded. It was time to confront the barriers she had built and take back what belonged to her dreams. The next morning, she stood by the window with a coffee in hand, staring at the garden blooming vibrant with new life. The thought of the seminar sparked something within her that felt unmistakably like courage. She picked up her phone, her fingers hovering over the screen. Should she register? The moment hung heavy in the air. Could this be the pivotal moment that altered everything? A part of her yearned to leap, while another hesitated, questioning her worthiness. With a steadying breath, she pressed the button, but before she could submit, a text flashed on the screen, the name eliciting a familiar swell of anxiety. "Are you ready for dinner tonight? We need to discuss your future here." That haunting message sent her spiraling. Would she continue to succumb to their expectations or rise to confront them? The dichotomy of her life was clashing violently, and at that moment, she realized there was no turning back. Sarah had a decision to make, and the repercussions could shape her future irrevocably. Would she stand tall this time, or would she fade once again into the background? As she prepared for the evening ahead, the tension mounted, each heartbeat echoing her internal conflict louder than before. Soon, she would have to face not only their expectations but also assert her own desires. Would she dare to step into the roles that had always been meant for her, or would her moment of truth slip through her fingers once more? Sarah paced the room, each step echoing the uncertainty building within her. The sun dipped behind the horizon, casting a warm glow that fought against the looming shadows of her doubt. Dinner with the Thompsons was more than just a meal, it was a crossroad. Would she continue to wear the mask of compliance, or unveil a version of herself she had long buried? As she stared out at the fading light, her mind raced through every conversation, every instance where she had felt her aspirations shrink under their expectations. The promise of the seminar tugging at her essence clashed violently with the anchor of obligation weighing her down. The Thompsons had been generous in their support, yet their kindness came with invisible strings. They had provided the structure she needed, but that structure had morphed into a cage, one from which she now longed to escape. Every time they commented on her dedication to the children, she felt the walls close in tighter, stifling her dreams of teaching. At the kitchen table, she arranged the place settings meticulously, each fork and knife an attempt to impose order on the chaos within. Her hands trembled slightly as she poured water into glasses, the sound of liquid filling the silence underscoring her internal storm. What should she bring to the table tonight, her compliance or her ambitions? As the door opened and the Thompsons entered, Sarah plastered on her best smile, the mask slipping into place seamlessly. "Dinner is ready," she announced, her voice a mix of enthusiasm and resignation. "Looks wonderful, Sarah," Mrs. Thompson praised, offering a bright smile that made her heart feel both warmed and burdened. "You've really integrated yourself into our family here. We're grateful." Gratitude. A word that felt heavy with meaning yet empty in her context. She was grateful for their support, but the price extracted was her own voice in exchange she was beginning to find unjust. As they sat down, the familiar polite inquiries about her daily routine filled the air, every question further cementing her role as the obedient nanny. Each snippet of conversation felt like a featherweight, assembling a growing pile of expectation. "Have you thought any more about your future?" Mr. Thompson prompted, digging deeper. "We believe you'd be so good at teaching, but maybe you just need more time to find your path." Time, she echoed inwardly, the word turning in her gut like an unfurling vine choking her aspirations. More time only allowed the decay of her dreams beneath layers of complacency. "Actually," she began, the words growing heavy on her tongue. I think I might." The words stumbled out, unpolished and raw. The room fell silent, the Thompsons' eyes widening, brimming with curiosity. Drumming fingers against the table, her heart raced in sync with her breathing. Maybe tonight would be different. Maybe she wouldn't taper off into shadows but instead be seen for who she truly was. "I'm considering the seminar that was mentioned." Her voice wavered, a tightrope walk between the confidence she wanted to exude and the fear of their disapproval. "I believe it could really help me figure things out." The silence lingered like thick fog, each second stretching painfully. Mr. Thompson's brow furrowed slightly. "That sounds interesting. But are you sure you want to pursue teaching? It's a big commitment." Underneath their concern was a subtle thread of doubt. The thought made her stomach clench. Did they worry she would fail? That she couldn't rise to the challenge? "Yes, I am sure." The words escaped before she had time to second-guess herself. A wave of relief flooded through her, mixed with the sickening fear of the unknown. "Good," Mrs. Thompson finally said, her smile returning, although it bordered on pity. "Just remember, not everyone is cut out to teach." That remark hit her like a slap, igniting a fire within. Not cut out. Who were they to define what she could or couldn't be? A rush of adrenaline coursed through her veins, awakening a part of her spirit that had lain dormant. What if they were wrong about her? As the conversation shifted to mundane topics, she drifted, spiraling thoughts colliding with determination. She would not let this moment slip away. The seminar was not merely a step toward her career, it was her reclamation of self. With a steely resolve creeping back into her bones, she made a vow silently to herself: she would assert her passion for teaching beyond the confines of their expectations. Tonight marked not an end but a catalyst for change. The evening ended, and as she cleaned the table, Sarah felt a profound shift within her. The Thompsons' perceptions no longer felt like chains, instead, they had spurred her to action. She was ready to pursue her path and confront the people holding her dreams at bay. Yet, as she settled down for the night, anticipation swirled in her gut. Tomorrow would require courage, and the seminar loomed on the horizon, watched and weighed against her growing ambition. With a deep breath, she laid her head to rest, heart racing at the thought of the decisions to come. Would she finally embrace the teacher within, or was she still destined to observe others live her dream? Sarah drifted into restless sleep, and at that moment, she knew tomorrow would demand more than she'd ever given before. With the light of dawn chasing away the darkness, she wondered, would today be the day she stepped fully into her calling, or would fear shackle her once more? The morning sun streamed through Sarah's window, illuminating the soft edges of her uncertainty. She lay awake, the buzzing anticipation of the seminar mixing with the dread of stepping into a world that seemed both inviting and terrifying. As she moved through her morning routine, the rush of water filling the kettle mirrored the turmoil inside her. Each drop resonated with reminders of doubt and hope, an internal tug-of-war she had become all too familiar with. With a shaky grip, she slid her feet into her shoes and glanced in the mirror, searching for resolve beneath the layers of self-doubt. Today was about more than her role as a nanny, it was about reclaiming her narrative. The determined woman staring back momentarily silenced her insecurities. "Just breathe," she whispered, trying to ground herself in the present. Driving to the seminar, she navigated through streets she'd traveled countless times, but today felt different. The familiar sights appeared animated, infused with potential. Would she find the courage to articulate her desires, or would she let the weight of expectation hold her back? Upon arriving, Sarah's heart raced as she entered the building. The buzz of conversation and laughter flooded her senses. Here, in this space, were people pursuing their dreams, a tapestry of ambition that both inspired and intimidated her. Almost instinctively, she sought a quiet corner, pushing her back against the wall, a protective barrier against the energy of the crowd. The seminar room filled, and she took a seat at the edge. Speakers spoke of perseverance, passion, and purpose. Each story unfolded like pages from a book she wanted to write herself, they ignited a flicker in her heart. But whispers of doubt crept into her mind, sabotaging her budding confidence. Did she truly belong here? The first breakout session began, and participants formed groups to brainstorm their teaching philosophies. Sarah hesitated, torn between the urge to participate and the fear of exposing her unpolished thoughts. Suddenly, a fellow attendee, a young man with wild curls and a welcoming smile, approached her. "You look a bit lost. Want to join our group?" Just the invitation she needed to push past her apprehension. Sarah nodded, allowing herself to be led into the circle. It felt electrifying as they shared their ideas. For the first time in ages, she spoke about her passion for teaching. Her vision poured out in earnest, and she could feel waves of support washing over her as her voice gained strength. "Beautiful thoughts," a woman remarked, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. "You have a gift for connecting with kids. You should definitely pursue this." Instantly, a warmth blossomed in Sarah's chest, resonating with a long-standing desire to embrace her potential. Energized, the discussion flowed seamlessly, each participant building on the other's ideas. During a reflection break, Sarah found herself quietly jotting down her aspirations, bold and unapologetic. What was once hidden now flowed freely, transforming her uncertainty into solid ambitions. Yet as the seminar progressed, the specter of the Thompsons' expectations crept back into her mind. Were they really the people she should be concerned about, or was she merely projecting her own fears onto them? The shifting realization stirred a profound question within: how could she let others dictate her course? In the final hour, the facilitator urged participants to share personal revelations, moments of clarity that had changed their perspectives. A fire ignited within Sarah as she stood, heart pounding with vulnerability. "I've learned that my voice matters," she began, drawing the room's attention. "I've been hiding behind my obligations, but I want to be seen and heard. I am ready to embrace teaching." Every word felt liberating, and with each nod and smile from her peers, she felt visions of self-doubt fading further into the background. As the seminar wrapped, affirmations of support cascaded around her, feeding her newly discovered conviction. Sarah knew her journey had just begun, but the hard-won bravery she claimed today marked a significant turning point. She felt something had shifted within her, like a curtain drawn back to let in the light. Stepping outside with the group, the crisp air enveloped her like a fresh beginning. Each breath felt lighter, charged with potential. Yet, as she glanced down at her notes, illuminated by the fading sun, the question lingered, with newfound resolve: how would she confront the Thompsons and redefine her future? The time to take the next step was fast approaching, and uncertainty still loomed large. Would she finally unearth the teacher within her or slip back into the shadows she had begun to escape? As Sarah walked away from the seminar, her hands trembled slightly as they clutched the notes that burned in her pocket. The phrases she scrawled teacher, voice, connection served both as anchors and reminders of the promise she had made to herself. Would she truly have the strength to follow through on this newfound determination? Each footstep felt weighty, and the crisp air pulsed with unresolved questions. Her thoughts drifted to the Thompsons. The family she had committed herself to loomed large, their expectations echoed in the back of her mind, a persistent vibration that threatened to drown out her nascent hope. Did they envision her as nothing more than a caretaker, or could they see the potential teacher she was beginning to realize? The nagging doubt made her stomach clench, and she shook her head, as if to dispel it. She resolved to face them, yet the conversation she envisioned was far from clear-cut. What if they rejected her aspirations? What if they saw her dreams as a childish whim? The very thought unraveled some of the courage she had amassed during the seminar. She paused, leaning against a lamppost to gather herself. In that moment, self-doubt wrapped around her like a thick fog. But then she remembered the affirmations from her fellow attendees, the smiles, the affirmations, the light in their eyes as they encouraged her to pursue teaching. Perhaps the Thompsons were not the insurmountable obstacle she imagined. What if she approached them with her heart wide open, ready to let them see who she truly was? The thought ignited a flicker of resilience within her. The drive home felt different, too, each familiar turn in the road feeling like a step towards a bold revelation. Sarah considered her next moves with an urgency she hadn't felt before. Would she ask for a traditional meeting with the Thompsons, or would she make it less formal, a conversational exchange over dinner? The idea of discussing her ambitions in a relaxed environment gave her a small surge of confidence. Maybe she could introduce the concept of teaching as a part-time venture that could coexist with her responsibilities as a nanny. As she parked in front of their house, she caught a glimpse of the vibrant garden flowers blooming, an embodiment of growth and nurturing. It struck her as a reflection of her journey. The Thompsons had cultivated something beautiful in their home, yet she felt tightly bound by a sense of duty to portray herself in a specific light. With a deep breath, she stepped onto the pathway leading to the front door, resolve intertwining with apprehension. Inside, laughter from the children resonated through the air, drawing her in. The sound was enchanting, yet it only intensified her determination. She imagined herself standing taller, no longer the quiet shadow behind the family. Rather, the vibrant, passionate teacher she longed to become. Sarah. Mr. Thompson called, his voice booming pleasantly from the living room. Join us for dinner. We're talking about travel plans. She felt a jolt of encouragement. This could be her moment. Sarah strode forward, allowing the joy of the children and the warmth of the family's camaraderie to envelop her. Their domain was inviting, full of laughter and busy life, but she couldn't help but wonder whether she truly belonged at the heart of it. As they gathered around the table, she took a few moments to observe them. Their interactions were fluid, infused with love, a milieu where her contributions had always taken a back seat. She had always felt vital, yet invisible. The warmth in her chest from the seminar had almost faded, but it ignited again as her internal dialogue shifted. Instead of waiting for her moment, she would create it. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, a pause hanging between the jovial conversation and her stillness. It was now or never. With her heart pounding, she leaned forward, her voice steadier than she felt. Can we talk about something important? All eyes turned to her, and in that moment, Sarah realized that this wasn't just about confronting the Thompsons, it was about standing firm in her own identity, claiming the position she so deeply desired. The energy in the room crackled, and she could almost hear the anticipation of what was to come echoing in their silence. What would they say? How would they react? As Sarah prepared to share her dreams, the future felt both exhilarating and frightening, a twist of fate teetering on the edge of revelation. Would a conversation transform her role in this family, or would it reveal cracks in their harmony she had never noticed? The seconds hung heavily in the air, a tangible blend of hope and trepidation coursing through Sarah. She could feel the pulse of her heart beating, urging her forward even as her thoughts swirled in chaotic circles. Would her aspirations resonate with the Thompsons, or would they shatter in the echoes of silence? "Sure, Sarah, what's on your mind?" Mrs. Thompson prompted gently. Her warm smile settled uncomfortably on Sarah's growing anxiety, the simplicity of the question belying the complexity of the answer Sarah prepared to give. Here was her chance, not merely to speak but to assert her identity, to redefine her role in their lives. With her hands clasped tightly in her lap, she pressed her lips together, gathering her thoughts. She began, emboldened by the compassion in their eyes. "I've been thinking about what I want to do." The children's eyes flickered with curiosity, their innocence and unyielding encouragement. But as she continued, she wrestled precariously with the fear that weighed her down. "I want to explore teaching." The admission slipped out, a raw and wild burst of determination that left her breathless. Silence enveloped the room, suffocating yet electric. She glanced around the table, witnessing a myriad of reactions. Mr. Thompson leaned back slightly, raising an eyebrow in intrigue, while Mrs. Thompson's expression softened. The children, oblivious to the intricacies of adult conversation, continued to chew their pasta with hopeful smiles. "But you're the best nanny," Mr. Thompson finally said, his tone complimentary yet tinged with confusion. "Why would you want to leave that behind?" The question struck like a lightning bolt through her newfound resolve. Why would she? After all, this role had provided her with purpose and connection. Yet as she looked into the affectionate faces surrounding her, something deeper stirred in her. "It's not that I want to leave," she clarified, "I want to add to my responsibilities. I want to teach and share knowledge." A slight furrow crossed Mrs. Thompson's brow. "That's a significant leap, Sarah. Are you sure that's what you want to pursue?" The doubt in her voice ignited another wave of determination. Here was the real test. Could she articulate why this mattered so profoundly? "I believe I can inspire children, not just care for them. I want to ignite curiosity, just like the seminar did for me." The fervor in her own voice spurred a new zeal within her. These words were coming from a place she had only begun to understand. The room resonated with a newfound energy as they considered her words, but tension still rippled beneath the surface. Sarah sensed their hesitation, unsure how to translate her passionate vision into tangible support. "What if it doesn't work out?" Mrs. Thompson ventured gently, her eyes scrutinizing. "What if it interferes with your responsibilities?" The prospect sent a tremor through Sarah. Here lay the dilemma, a decision that pivoted on her desires versus their expectations. "I'm willing to adjust and compromise," she proposed, a calculated strategy hardening her resolve. "I could teach part-time or find a way to integrate lessons into the children's routine. Maybe we could help figure that out together," Mr. Thompson offered, his voice rich with understanding. The invitation ignited a flicker of optimism within her. They weren't entirely dismissive, a path was beginning to unfold. But what if their help wasn't enough? What if their acceptance came with strings attached? As they delved deeper into the discussion, exchanging ideas that flowed like a gentle stream, Sarah couldn't shake a lingering turbulence. The dialogue warmed her, yet the sense of unease remained. Her aspirations now laid bare, hovering between hope and stark reality. After the meal, as the children scampered off to play, she caught snippets of their conversation. Mrs. Thompson's voice rose with enthusiasm, but a knot tightened in her stomach. What if their support was conditional? What if each positive word layered another expectation upon her shoulders? The Thompson home began to feel more like a tightrope, a place where every step she took would lead to an unknown destination. Would she be enough to meet their expectations, or would she falter under the weight of potential failure? As she prepared to leave, Sarah glanced at the children, laughter bubbling through the air, a reminder of her motivation. Yet the hardest truth pressed down on her: she would have to transform not just her role, but her perception of herself, in evolution with no guarantees. The confrontation with her own self-doubt loomed larger than ever. As she left their home, the cool night air greeted her, thick with anticipation. What new challenges awaited her now? Would she navigate her ambitions and their expectations, or would the fear of failure pull her back into the shadows from which she had only just begun to emerge? The following week was a whirlwind of introspection for Sarah. The mere thought of teaching sparked excitement, but intrinsic doubts tangled like weeds around her aspirations. Every decision felt weighted, as if the air around her had thickened with unspoken expectations. She spent her mornings with the Thompson children, guiding their studies as she navigated her own thoughts. Each lesson she crafted felt more like an exploration of her potential, presenting a stark contrast to the traditional comfort of her nanny role. As they dissected a simple math problem, Sarah found herself marveling at the enthusiasm within them and energy she longed to channel into her own ambitions. Yet in the back of her mind echoed the whispers of uncertainty: would they appreciate her efforts? Would she truly be able to inspire? During the quiet afternoons, Sarah began to sketch out ideas for lessons, eager to shape her knowledge into tangible forms of guidance. She envisioned a world where children were encouraged to ask questions, to probe beneath the surface of every lesson. The vision filled her with an urgency that coiled tightly within her. But with each draft of a potential curriculum came another wave of anxiety. Would the Thompsons' expectations loom over her every move? Would her classroom, if it ever came to be, brim with the same pressures she felt now? She found herself hesitating at pivotal moments. Questions about how she would balance this new role alongside her responsibilities gnawed at her confidence. The mere act of taking pen to paper became a quintessential battleground where determination clashed with apprehension. On one particularly restless evening, Sarah sought solace in her old notebook, the one filled with dreams and aspirations. As her fingers grazed the pages, she unearthed the list she'd written months ago, goals that once felt distant yet now pulsed with a newfound resonance. Teaching, creativity, growth, these were not just aspirations but clarion calls from deep within her. The act of writing, of externalizing her thoughts, forged clarity amid the chaos. She resolved to embrace her fears as companions in her journey rather than obstacles. The following day, buoyed by her own revelations, she approached the Thompsons with a renewed sense of resolve. "Let us implement trial lessons," she suggested, her voice steadying with conviction. "I could start with the children, creating a structured yet playful learning environment." Mr. Thompson exchanged a glance with Mrs. Thompson, a blend of surprise and intrigue brightening his features. "Trial lessons, huh? How would that work?" he inquired, genuinely curious. Her heart raced as she articulated her plan, threading together both educational ideals and practical strategies. "We could dedicate a few hours a week for immersive activities that combine learning with play. I'll keep it adaptable, ensuring it aligns with what you both envision for them." As she spoke, Sarah felt the mounting pressure lift slightly. This wasn't just an audition for their approval, it was a declaration of her intent, an investment in her identity. Watching the Thompsons nod along, their faces transforming from skepticism to keen interest, filled her with a heady mix of hope and dread. But just as optimism began to flourish, shadows of doubt crept back in. What if her lessons didn't resonate with the children? What if her methods fell flat, revealing her inadequacy? The thought threatened to destabilize the confidence she had fought to gather. By dusk, with the children tucked in and the Thompsons settling into the evening, Sarah took a moment for herself. Alone in her room, she inhaled deeply, grappling with the fear that quaked through her. It wasn't just about teaching, it was a foray into a world where her own voice could shape futures. The ambition she had ignited now flickered with the potential for both brilliance and failure. What awaited her in the days to come was uncertain, but the challenge loomed imminent. How would she transform her tentative steps into confident strides? As she lay awake, That night, the questions percolated her thoughts, urging her forward, toward a moment of reckoning. Would her bid for independence succeed, or would it unravel under the weight of unfathomable expectations? The next morning felt different. The sun cast a warm glow through the kitchen window as Sarah brewed her coffee. With every rise of steam, anticipation coiled in her chest. Today was the day she would put her plan into action, yet an underlying anxiety twisted her stomach. As she gathered resources to create her trial lessons, her mind raced ahead. Flashes of potential scenarios flashed before her, children engaged in a heated discussion, laughter spilling over as they conquered a challenging puzzle, their eyes gleaming with understanding. Yet, just beneath the surface lurked the fear of silence, children disinterested, disengaged, perhaps even whispering doubts that mirrored her own. The thought sent ripples of apprehension coursing through her. Stepping into the living room, she met the Thompson children, Annie and Max, sipping their breakfast while poring over a colorful book spread across the table. The familiarity of their innocent banter both comforted and unnerved her. Could she shift the dynamics from merely caring for them to being an authority figure while still nurturing their excitement for learning? "Today we're going to try something new," Sarah began, her voice surprising even herself with its steadiness. She smiled, fighting to quell the flutter in her stomach. "We're going on an adventure through math. Who's ready?" Annie's eyes sparkled, while Max leaned closer, curiosity igniting a spark of enthusiasm. The children's reaction, however slight, invigorated her. Starting that day, she wouldn't merely be a guide, she would be their fellow explorer in an educational landscape, where every question was a key to unlocking new realms of knowledge. With each passing moment, Sarah structured the lesson around games, discussions, and tangible examples. They tossed balls to count, sketched out problems on large sheets of paper, and engaged in friendly debates over solutions. Each small victory breathed life into her lesson plan, while the kids' laughter and enthusiasm stoked the flames of her determination. Yet, she noticed early on that not every method ignited a spark. A hands-on activity on fractions left Max puzzled and Annie disengaged, their initial enthusiasm evaporating. The realization pressed against her chest: failure was a real specter clinging to the edges of her ambition. Would this exposure of her shortcomings seal her fate as a teacher? The notion sliced through her burgeoning confidence, but instead of retreating, she leaned into the discomfort. "That didn't go as planned, huh?" she said, her voice soft as she sat down with them. "What do you think? How could we make it better?" Exchanging glances, they murmured suggestions that sparked laughter and a flurry of new ideas. In those moments, Sarah realized the potency of collaboration. Her role didn't have to be a solitary endeavor. They could learn from each other, share disappointment, and turn confusion into clarity, her personal vision of education that she so desperately wished to embody. The trial lessons would evolve, Sarah recognized. Just as she crafted her plan, she could adapt it, molding each session based on feedback, emotional cues, and the children's shifting interests. Empowerment came not from delivering perfect lessons but by learning alongside her students, navigating the highs and lows together. By the time evening crept in, victory filled her veins, the feelings of inadequacy that had entangled her all day loosened. Yes, there would be bumps ahead, but for the first time, she felt emboldened to embrace them openly, together with the Thompsons. Still, as she prepared for bed, questions shadowed her thoughts. Had she fully conquered her fears or merely pushed them aside? What awaited on the horizon as evaluations of her methods loomed ominously? The weight of pending judgments lingered, but it was a reckoning she was willing to face, one step at a time. With a resolve that simmered beneath her surface, Sarah understood she was not yet done. It was time to dig deeper, to unearth the truths hidden within and mark her path. What profound vulnerabilities would she uncover within herself, and how would they shape her transformation as a teacher? The morning light filtered into Sarah's kitchen, casting a comfortable glow over her bustling preparations. Today, she was more equipped, more intentional. She sipped her coffee with a heightened awareness of her heartbeat, now more familiar with the rhythms of doubt and determination. As she looked over the materials she had meticulously gathered, her ambition ignited a flicker of hope amidst lingering uncertainty. Sarah chose to focus her next lesson on storytelling. The children's imaginations often wove vibrant narratives, so why not channel that into learning? She crafted a tale that involved characters facing mathematical dilemmas, believing that engagement through narrative could draw Max and Annie back into the world she was building. But could she truly weave education into the fabric of their everyday play? When the Thompsons arrived, their usual chatter filled the room, and so did the unmistakable tension beneath it. She noticed how Max's eyes darted around, whispering questions in hushed tones to Annie as they settled into the space for today's lesson. "Let us become storytellers today," Sarah announced, striving for an enthusiastic tone as she unveiled her plan. But her stomach nodded, the children appeared skeptical despite her excitement. It was another moment that could shape her confidence or unleash her fears. As Sarah shared the first part of her story, the room seemed to shrink around her. Their initial interest flickered but dimmed considerably during a lengthy explanation about the hero's encounter with a mysterious puzzle that required fractions to solve. Each detail she offered garnered more blank stares than eager nods. A suffocating silence enveloped her, mirroring her internal battle. How could she execute her vision if it meant losing their attention? Breaking the oppressive atmosphere, she paused, shifted her approach, and addressed the palpable wall forming between her and the children. "Okay, let us change the story," she declared, surprising herself with her decisiveness. "What if you two were the heroes? What challenge would you face?" Annie's eyes widened, a flicker of enchantment igniting in Max as they began to brainstorm. Voices rose and filled the room with ideas. Dragons needed to be defeated using multiplication, a treasure map requiring metric measurement, or even an adventure through a world where addition kept the lights on. With their imaginations unleashed, Sarah felt her fears begin to dissipate. She was no longer the sole architect of the day's learning. They collaborated, transforming a dull lesson into a lively brainstorming session, and as they did, something in Sarah shifted. The power of involvement became clear. It wasn't about perfect execution, but rather the mutual discovery of ideas. As the hour drew to a close, they began to craft their narrative. It was messy but filled with laughter, teamwork, and a vibrant energy that pulsed through the room. Yet, doubt still circled in the background, stemming from the knowledge that she was fundamentally reshaping her teaching approach. Was it enough? How would this change be perceived by others, especially those who had already begun evaluating her efforts? When it was time to regroup after their chaotic creation, Sarah sat before them, a mix of exhilaration and anxiety swirling within her. "How did you feel about the story we created together?" she asked, her voice steady yet vulnerable. Max leaned forward, eyes bright. "It was cool, but maybe next time, we can have more monsters." "That is an awesome idea," Sarah replied, her heart swelling. They were co-conspirators now, each contributing to something meaningful. But she knew that the path to truly mastering her craft was still fraught with uncertainty, waiting just out of reach. As the day faded, her earlier fears crawled back. What would tomorrow look like after this brief victory? What lay dormant that might still rise to challenge her newfound approach? The routine evaluations loomed like an impending storm, their winds threatening to unsettle her hard-fought confidence as she pondered the depth of her transformation. With that pressure coiling once more in her mind, Sarah embraced her discomfort. Perhaps this journey meant bearing witness to her own evolution and confronting hidden insecurities. But were these shadows mere doubts, or were they warnings of deeper failings? The thought tinged her excitement with urgency, and she could sense the walls of expectation creeping closer. Tomorrow would bring the test of her adaptability, and with it, the anticipation of who she might become. The moment of truth loomed, casting its shadow over her resolve. As dawn broke on what felt like a pivotal day, Sarah grasped her phone, the lingering echoes of last night swirling in her mind. The children's laughter from yesterday still resonated, fueling her ambition but mingling with apprehension about the evaluations waiting just beyond her doorstep. Today was the day the Thompsons would observe her trial lesson. Each heartbeat resonated in her chest, a reminder of the stakes at play, no longer was she merely a caretaker, she was stepping into the role of an educator, the architect of her own future. Throughout the morning, she rehearsed her approach, meticulously refining the lesson. Drawing inspiration from the children's input, she integrated their characters and cookie-cutter adventures involving mathematics. With every detail, she reminded herself that this was not merely about conforming to expectations, it was about engaging minds and awakening the spirit of learning. When the doorbell chimed, Sarah felt her skin prick with electricity. This was it. As the Thompsons entered, their smiles set an inviting tone, yet their attentive gaze instilled a flicker of anxiety. "We're excited to see what you've planned today," Mrs. Thompson said, her tone gentle but tinged with expectation. As the lesson commenced, Sarah moved through each stage with deliberate confidence. She anchored the narrative around playful challenges, seamlessly weaving in mathematical concepts while the children engaged enthusiastically. Her heart swelled as she watched their imaginations soar, the earlier tension dissipating into laughter and playful banter. Yet, the weight of Mr. Thompson's discerning gaze remained in the back of her mind, tethering her to their expectations. Midway, as she encouraged Max and Annie to lead the direction of the story, she felt a surge of uncertainty rise. What if their input derailed her carefully constructed lesson? Dare she risk stepping away from structure to embrace their creativity? Pausing, she steadied herself, recalling the empowering moments from the seminar where vulnerability had birthed collaboration. "What if you two let us? I want to hear your ideas," she declared, conviction threading through her voice. As they debated the next phase of the adventure, the classroom transformed into a sanctuary of discovery. The hours seemed to blast forward, filled with delightful chaos. Ideas flourished as Max and Annie took ownership of their learning. Every shriek of laughter, every sparkle in their eyes pushed Sarah closer to a tipping point. She was no longer merely executing a lesson but was actively crafting a space for shared creativity. The final moment arrived, and as the Thompsons departed, she caught a glimpse of Mr. Thompson's thoughtful expression. Feedback hung in the air, thick and palpable. As they settled into the familiar routines of family talk, Sarah's heart pounded in anticipation, waiting for their verdict. "You really engaged them," he said finally, his face lighting with genuine praise. I could see how involved they were. Relief surged through Sarah, it was validation she never realized she craved. "Well, I learned just as much from Max and Annie as they did from me," she replied, humility threading through her tone. With each passing moment, layers of self-doubt peeled away, revealing her intrinsic gift for making learning feel exciting and accessible. Yet, as the warmth of approval wrapped around her, Sarah recognized that the deeper battle lay ahead. Potentially, just beyond the comfort of success lay the complexities of maintaining this spark within a traditional framework. Their support felt conditional, and beneath the praise was the boundary of their expectations. How would she navigate them without losing herself? As night descended, she reflected on the day's triumphs and the patterns of doubt that still danced near the edges. The exhilarating push to re-engage her purpose had set her in motion, but now the real challenge would be perpetuating that momentum, bridging her identity as a caregiver while becoming the teacher she yearned to be. The journey was not merely one of teaching methods or academic philosophies, it was about self-affirmation and resilience in the face of challenges. Today had marked a transformative experience, not just in delivering lessons but in discovering her voice. As she lay her head down, Sarah felt a profound sense of accomplishment wash over her. She had not only crafted a series of successful lessons, she had dwelled in the essence of what it meant to teach to inspire. With this newfound clarity came a deep-rooted confidence, the reflection of someone ready to pursue her authentic calling. Tomorrow, she would face ongoing uncertainty, but now, she possessed the conviction she had lacked before. Today had been a victory over the fear that had once threatened to consume her. Having embraced her power and confidence, Sarah stood on the brink of vibrant possibilities. This was not just a chapter but the genesis of a profound transformation. And with that, she closed her eyes, ready to rise anew in pursuit of not only teaching but reclaiming her passion. The echoes of their laughter from the classroom resonated within her spirit. Tomorrow would be another step forward, and Sarah was prepared to take it with courage. You need to subscribe now to keep following Sarah's journey as she confronts new challenges and shares her inspiring story of growth. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm so others can witness these incredible personal transformations. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Comment below your reactions, theories about Sarah's next steps, or moments from your own life where you've had to embrace change or face fear. Be a part of this inspiring community.